All right, guys, the gang is all here. I am so excited. I don't think this group of folks has been on a podcast together before, if I'm remembering correctly. I do see that Roback is making a strong statement on this podcast. If you are watching on video, check them out. You got the Virginia Tech license stuff. Pat's rocking the not affiliated, not licensed, but it's giving Notre Dame, it's giving green, it's giving summertime. Go ahead and check out roback.com, SOSVT, for 20% off your first order, or you can use a new email and get that 20% off. But fellas, here is the assignment for the day. We're going to run down, it's mainly ACC teams, but it's opponents that Virginia Tech has played a good amount of times, and we're just going to draft the most memorable game or the first game that comes to your mind. I can't think of a more knowledgeable and different age basis here. There are a couple that I will respectfully bow out of. It's going to be tough for me to weigh in on Maryland, given that I had never been to or watched one when it occurred live. It's going to be tough for me to do West Virginia because I've only seen it 3 times. So I will respectfully remove myself from a couple of them. Paul Patera, Coach Holmes, Pat Finn, Billy Ray Mitchell, chiming in from Castle Rock, Colorado. Paul, it's not College Station. Is it College Station? Where exactly are you?
It's Bryan, College Station, Texas. She put them together.
Bryan, College Station, Texas, and Pat Finn in Manhattan, New York. Fellas, let's have a hell of a podcast. But before we do that, I have 2 orders of business that I need to take care of. The first one is I'm shouting out my guy, Christian Lancaster. I promised I would start that podcast with this, but the second thing is Hokie Sports put out a tweet. Our athletic director, Brian White, was so kind enough to put together a list of 5 artists he would like to see play in Lane Stadium. He put together Metallica, Kenny Chesney, Zach Brown Band, Morgan Wallen, and Eric Church. I think that's a pretty solid list. I can get behind that list. Unfortunately, it seems that OxVT cannot get behind the list. OxVT's been doing a great job on the countdown. He comes up with like 43 days out. Here's a 43-yard touchdown by Dalton Keene. Like, it's great. It's every day. I love it. It's a service to the Hokie community. But he said that is a load of terrible music outside of number 1. Do better, BW. So I thought it would be appropriate for us all to name a couple of bands that we would love to see play in Lane Stadium. I will go first. And the eye rolls are coming. I'd love to see Noah Khan. He's selling out everywhere that he's going. Great show. Ed Williams was a seller. I wouldn't say he's a seller. He went into it with an open mind, and I think now he has a excited mind. Had a great time. That's a concert that I would go see. Pat Finn.
Can we opt out? Can we opt out of all further BRM, Noah Khan contributions? I mean, we got at some point we got to turn the faucet off. You know, nobody subscribed to Billy Ray's Noah Khan love sesh, but here we are.
I gotta say, I do want to know who the over 100 people are that messaged privately the Noah Khan post on Sons of Saturday. I assume that they weren't followed with the nicest tags. In my head, I may like to think people are like, wow, great take from BRM. I can't imagine that that's what most people were saying with the message that they sent out. But, Pat, you know this. I love hard. I love things the maximum amount that you can possibly love things. And I love Noah Khan. Pat, who do you want to play in Lane Stadium?
Noah Khan is the new Mount Joy for Billy Ray. Mount Joy is in the corner.
And we'll never summit.
So, for me, I saw Brian White put Zach Brown Band on there. And I think Luke Combs is the 2020s Zach Brown Band. You got a lot of people who aren't country fans who are Zach Brown fans. I think that goes with Luke Combs as well. You kind of get an umbrella of all types and all walks of life. With Luke Combs, I mean, just look at Fast Car. Fast Car, unbelievable cover of Tracy Chapman. Luke Combs gave the ode to Tracy Chapman at that awards show as well. They got to sing it together. It was very cool. They
tried to cancel him for doing the cover the first time. They were like, he can't do this song. And he's like, well, I'll just do it with her at the Grammys then. And it was awesome.
Very cool moment. Luke Combs would sell out Blacksburg, Virginia in an hour or less. Paul,
Absolutely.
who we got?
Yeah, you're looking for people that will fill a stadium that size, which is the inventory there is somewhat limited. But being a little bit selfish here, my first choice would be Turnpike Troubadours. I would go with Sturgill Simpson, and I would go with George Strait. Those all three of
Johnny
those
Blue
I would
Skies.
go. I would buy tickets in 10 seconds, and they'd all fill a lot of seats.
I'm so mad you took Red Clay Strays for me. That's a great one. Coach Holmes, what do you got?
All right, I'm going to twist it up a little bit. I love the country music thing. I think Luke Combs is going to be fantastic, would be fantastic. I think, Johnny Blue Skies and everybody, I think that would be fantastic too. I just got done seeing him, so he's fresh on my mind. I think Hootie and the Blowfish, because Darius Rucker's toying with retirement. If they did a farewell college stadium tour, because they're big college football guys, that would be amazing. If they, you get some of those homegrown Southern bands from the mid-'90s, you get like Hootie and Blowfish, Craven Mellon, Edwin McCain, Collective Soul, some of those guys all together have like a festival type atmosphere. I think that would be awesome.
Fun fact, it wasn't a fun game, but one of the games on my list had Darius Rucker singing the national anthem for the game. That might have given it away for what game it is, but that was a forgettable game. I'll just round it out with first of all, Kenny Chesney would be on my list. Like, I would love to see Kenny Chesney play at Lane Stadium. Like, who is out on Kenny Chesney? I don't know how long that list is. My dad is serious business, and I didn't get choked up when I heard these songs when I was a kid. I was like, Dad's getting choked up about this music. Boys of Fall, when it came out, chokehold on my father, and now chokehold on me. And the song Back Where I Came From, you got to listen to the live version. That is a fantastic song. And then you got some of the bops. You got Get Along. You got the Summertime. I mean, there's so many great songs that go hand in hand with Kenny Chesney. My last one, John Mayer. A lot of people don't know John Mayer played at Lane Stadium after the 416 when they did the big fundraiser. I have seen John Mayer with his band, and I went to John Mayer solo actually here in Charlotte. He puts on an awesome show. And I saw him with the Dead and Company, and they were great. So, any last submissions from anybody? Ella Langley, obviously. I think we could all say it. I know we're all spoken for, but I would love to watch Ella Langley at Lane Stadium. I think she would be I think she would generate quite the draw. My last one, give me 49 Winchester and Morgan Wade. Two homegrown, hometown legends in Southwest Virginia, Tennessee area. I think they would crush in Blacksburg, Virginia. And I think they'd both be open to it. So
Sign me up.
Give me those.
Absolutely.
Pat, you have one more deep cut?
Well, I was going to make a reference to Ella Langley, and then there you go. Ella Langley and Metallica round two.
Okay, here we go. So, I'm so bad at snake drafts, and I know I'm putting this on you late. Who would be good at keeping us honest with snake drafts? We're actually probably not going to have a lot of double dips here, because I know Paul Patera is going to go to the well of like 1970, 1980. Coach Holmes is going to be living in 90 to 2000. And Pat is going to flex on being a Hokie fan longer than I am. So I think we'll be okay. We'll keep the same order. Since you guys are the guests, let's start with Paul Patera, and we're going to kick it off with Georgia Tech.
Georgia Tech. Now, the first game I ever remember was 1990 when we lost 6-3 when Georgia Tech won the national championship. But the first game that I think of is the 45-0 game in Atlanta, 2019. Billy Ray, you and I were both there. Bud tossing a shutout on the road, and then he tossed another one the next week against Pitt. We were all over them from the jump. They never had a chance. It was Beamer ball with just Bud at that point, and it was a really, really great experience. Perfect day for football. We had the video, which we can share on socials again later, of Trey Turner and Hazleton doing the dance on the sideline late in the game. But that was a great experience, and that was one of the last shutouts we've seen for the Hokies.
Paul, I think if I'm remembering correctly, that might be the first DM we ever exchanged in our friendship road, because I had tweeted that I saw Trey and Hazleton dancing, and of course you were Johnny on the spot, Paulie on the spot, and you had the video and you sent it to me, and friends all these years later. So that's great. I remember that game. I went with Trent Young and Mike Santa Maria. We had a great little group. Went to the varsity for some burgers before the game. There were a ton of Tech fans there, Virginia Tech fans. I mean, it was in that era where we took over stadiums, and Georgia Tech has a pretty decent fan base, but it was a classic Virginia Tech showed up to watch a good Virginia Tech team play good football. So I love that one. Anybody else have any thoughts on that one before going to Coach Holmes?
It was Bryce Chalkley's engagement party. We had an oyster roast at his hometown house, and we did fireball shots for every time Tech scored. Like, that was our commitment. That was our commitment in the first quarter, and it was a rowdy day. I had ran the Richmond half marathon that morning, so it was a lot of running in the morning and a lot of fireballing at night.
All right, so my game was going to be the 1990 game. That was one of the first road games that I ever went to as a Hokie fan, 1990. But since it was already mentioned, I'm going to bring up the game that never happened, which was the 2000 BCA Classic. So this is the year after we played for the national championship. This is the first home game after we've almost, a short and a curly away from the national championship. And the atmosphere at the tailgate was, as electric and phenomenal as you could ever possibly imagine. Lee Corso was there. ESPN was. It was absolutely, without a doubt, a top 10 tailgate experience. And of course, being the Holmeses, it's a 7:30 kick. We're out there at 7:30 in the morning, and we're out there all day long. I think we were tailgating we were tailgating on Chicken Hill still at that point. But we got out there early. We were incredibly lubed up all day long, and we get out there, we pile into the stands, and then it just opens up. Skies just open up, and then lightning strikes Lee Corso's car. That's the famous "I don't know what a Hokie is, but God's one of them" quote from the following week on game day, and it is. It's one of the more famous Hokie experiences, but that happened at a Georgia Tech game, 2000, the BCA Classic that never occurred. And they made that game up.
The first Inner Sandman.
Yeah, that was the very first Inner Sandman. And they made that game up 4 years later, the BCA Classic against Southern Cal, which was in D.C.
So Georgia Tech, that was an unbelievable Hokie lore game, Coach, because there's not that much content out there from it because the game never happened. And if that were to happen in 2010, I'm sure we would see content about it all the time. As a young Hokie fan, and probably most of our fan base doesn't know about that game, right? Which gives it some unique flair and definitely Hokie lore. Any other commentary on the BCA Classic, fellas?
So I was living in Vaughter Hall, right there in the President's Quad, and they made the announcement right before they kicked everybody out that, hey, save your ticket stubs. You can send them back in, because even the students had to pay a fee in order to, had to get these tickets. Those weren't free student tickets for that one. And I remember trying to get everything out of my pockets because I was going to send. There was absolutely nothing left. We had just gotten absolutely soaked. There was nothing left of my ticket stub for that game. I just remember everything on my person being completely soaked.
So for me, Georgia Tech has got to be the 2010 game. It's the David Wilson kick return in the fourth quarter, 28-21, Virginia Tech. This was a Thursday night game. This was the year that we started 0-2 and rolled off this incredible winning streak in the ACC, went undefeated in conference, won the ACC championship. But that David Wilson wiggle worm, forget who was on the call. I think it might have been Reese, but someone made the wiggle worm comment. I think Jesse Palmer might have been on the field, and David Wilson scores the touchdown. Tyrod's the first one down there to congratulate him. And then Tevin Washington gets the ball and takes it all the way down into the red zone, gets picked off by Rock Carmichael to seal the game, and Tech wins in thrilling fashion in Blacksburg. And that was kind of like, up until Miami 2016, that was the last big Thursday night win in Blacksburg. My dad was there, my brother was there, I was at home because I had school that day and the next day, and I was pretty bummed, but had to preserve the perfect attendance. I'll show you the award. It's somewhere it's collecting dust somewhere. But that was an epic game and truly one of the best in this Virginia Tech-Georgia Tech rivalry.
It's crazy to think that with how much content you leave games with now, really, like, I would say it started right around 2017 when like Snapchat came into the orbit. Like, we do have such few like tailgating video or like content around these games, and I feel like most of the highlights of Virginia Tech that you see, you'll get like a Hokies FB will put out like, here's Bruce Smith's like same 100 sacks that everybody's seen, but that David Wilson return is one of those videos, I think, before we got the COVID game, that you would see that video over and over and over and over again, rightfully so. So I will round out Georgia Tech, and let me just let everybody know, you're going to hear a lot of Ryan Willis on this list, and you're not going to hear all wins. So I'm just going to let everybody know. And this one doesn't have Ryan Willis, and we did win this game, but Georgia Tech, November 12th, 2015. Virginia Tech won that game. It was on Thursday night. They won 23-21, and I have this named the Frank Beamer meme and bowl streak lives game. So it was the first game, if you all remember, after Coach Beamer had announced his retirement. So he announced his retirement early in the week, early in the season. And coming into that game, Virginia Tech's 4-5. And they're 4-5, and the rest of their schedule is at Georgia Tech on Thursday night against number 17 Carolina and UVA to go to a bowl game. You got to win 2 of those games. So, you start the game, it's 14-0 like that. You're down 14-0, and it's like, man, I don't know how we're going to beat Carolina. Carolina's got it rolling this year. This is not looking good for the bowl streak. And Trayvon McMillan, 135 yards, 2 touchdowns, come roaring back, score to go up 6, but miss the extra point. To go up 2, but we missed the extra point. So we're a field goal away from getting walked off at Bobby Dodd, and defense makes it happen. Coach Beamer gets interviewed after the game with Pete Morris. Pete Morris is doing like this. He says something to Coach Beamer, and Coach Beamer's just like this. It was honestly, it was such a funny memory. But when I think of Georgia Tech, I think of that one. I didn't want to. I had a couple of losses on here. I didn't want to say all the times Georgia Tech beat Coach Fuente inexplicably, or the other play that sticks in my head from Georgia Tech is Sean Savoy, dude, taking it off the dome. I was just there's some tough Georgia Tech games in there, but that's what I have for Georgia Tech.
I thought you were gonna throw in the fourth and 1 to Eric Kuma lob pass.
Oh, that's a good one.
That was what was that? That was Audible Gate, where they were like, did they audible the play? And Josh Jackson was like, no, and Coach Fuente was like, yes, and then it was like, nah.
You got me.
Like, oh, it wasn't good. But Paul, bringing it up, we're going to Duke now.
The Duke Blue Devils. We have had an interesting series with them for the last 20 years or so. I'm going with September 10th, 2005. It's our first game in Durham since we joined the ACC. Announced attendance in Durham, and we were there. Announced attendance 25,000. I'd say probably closer to 11,000, and we had about 6,000 of them as Tech fans. 45-0 wasn't that close. Marcus Fick had 3 touchdowns. We had Mike Emo, we had Brandon Orr, we had Cedric Humes, we had Eddie Royal, we had Josh Morgan, we had Josh Hyman, David Clowney, Jeff King, an embarrassment of riches. But the defense, believe it or not, was the ridiculous one. 35 yards of offense we allowed that day in Durham. We had 5 sacks, 10 tackles for loss, and it was the first of 2 straight 45-0 shutouts. So we are 20 minutes into this podcast, and I've already mentioned 3 45-0 shutouts. But a great day, and we were really happy to be there.
It's crazy to think the only thing that I have seen from that game is the coin toss. It's the everybody standing around, and Duke looked like the most Duke 4 guys. I think they sent out like 4 offensive linemen, and they did like the official ACC coin toss for Virginia Tech. That's the only piece of content that I've seen from that game.
Yeah, it was. We were men among boys that day in Durham.
We used to do that to Duke every year. That was it.
We
They
did.
would score 45. They would score like between 0 and 10, and that would be it.
Yeah,
God bless the
good
Ted Roof
times.
era. Right?
Ted Roof and his
Oh,
eyewear.
man. The game for me has a little bit of a twist to it. So we just moved to Colorado, and I'm working at Vista Ridge High School. We have a Thursday night home game, a Thursday night home game, or Friday night home game. We win our game. We're flying high. We're on cloud 9. We go out to the bar, and afterwards, and all the coaches we're throwing them back. And I said I hadn't even looked at my phone because we're flying high where everybody's talking about the game. And I said, hey, turn on ESPN. Turn on ESPN. The Virginia Tech game's on. And they said,
And you're
what?
lubed up. You're ready to go. You're
Oh
fired
man,
up.
we're
gonna be
fired up.
crushing 'em.
Yep. And I look at the score, and it's already like 37-0, and it's the 2019 game, September 27th, 2019, Duke 45, Virginia Tech 10, and it was, you're watching and you're just kind of gobsmacked. Your mouth is agape. You're like, Quentin Harris throws for 2 scores, runs for another, and you're just like, who is this guy, Quentin Harris? And just this wasn't your team. And
I remember this game for a couple of different reasons, and I first remember it with David Cutcliffe when he went for it on 4th down. I actually am a David Cutcliffe truther. I think he just signed up for really tough jobs and did a really good job at those spots. But I remember, Pat, you sent me a text, or I sent you a text, something along the lines of like, it was like our 3rd week of doing Sons of Saturday. It was like, how are we going to talk about this? Like, what are we gonna do? I don't know. How do we talk about this game? And I haven't listened to that podcast in a while. I need to torture myself and go back and listen to it.
Duke is such a weird ACC school. Frankie does not like Duke. I guess it's me now, right? 2010. I know I'm going back to 2010 here, but it's too easy with that senior class. And that senior class really encapsulated what being a Hokie's all about and a young Hokies fanhood. I guess I'm 31 now, I'm not young, but anyone who was watching Virginia Tech at that point. We just dismantled Duke on October 23rd, 2010. Tyrod threw for 3 touchdowns. You had one from David Wilson. You had a catch from Danny Cole. The defense did its job. And this was just like a good old-fashioned Virginia Tech is better than you and is going to show you that they're better than you. And one of those games, late October, that you were like, all right, like let's see what else is on the TV, right? Took care of business at noon because this was a nooner, and it was a beautiful fall day. And there wasn't much to write home about, but it did just pop up into my mind because we haven't had that many like games with Duke that are memorable that were like close wins, if that makes sense, other than like, well, I don't want to ruin it for anyone else. So 2010, not much to write home about for me. Thank you, Tyrod, and those seniors.
All right. This one is the first of our Ryan Willis saga that we have here. And if you remember, Ryan Willis comes into Virginia Tech. He gets beat out by Josh Jackson. But as you're kind of evaluating the quarterback situation, you're like, man, this guy threw for a ton of yards. Pat, I remember you were early on that. You were like, dude, this guy just throws for like 500 yards a game. Like this guy's going to be pretty damn good if we have to call his number. And we did have to call his number after Josh Jackson eviscerated his leg against Old Dominion. So September 29th, 2018, Virginia Tech goes to number 22 Duke and wins the game 31-14. Ryan Willis, 332 yards and 3 touchdowns in his first start. A 67-yard touchdown from Dalton Keene. There is an awesome picture of Dalton Keene doing that, holding the football up. It's Duke Stadium with a ton of maroon and orange in the background. 0 turnovers for Ryan Willis. Unbelievable. When Ryan Willis doesn't turn the football over, I mean, literally anything is possible. We also held Dink and Dunk Daniel Jones to 25 completions, but only 6.6 yards per completion. And again, this is a tough stat. Duke was number 22 in the country. It was Virginia Tech's first ranked road win since 2009 against Nebraska. That is a wild stat. So it took us almost a decade to get a ranked win on the road. Partially the ACC's fault because they were trash. But that's the one that I went with. I went with Duke in 2018.
Ryan Willis had some dimes this game, including an unbelievable back shoulder circus catch by number 8, Phil Patterson. What could have been?
Wow. Name drop.
Wake Forest, the Demon Deacons. The game that I remember first is November 9th, 2019, Bud Foster Day. We win the game 36-17, and great game plan. They had a really prolific offense at Wake Forest that year, and our game plan in the first half was to play keep away, basically. So the Hokies started each of the first 2 quarters with long field goal drives that shoot up 16 and a half minutes of game clock. Wake Forest ended the first half with 6 drives, totaling only 8.5 minutes in time of possession. Hendon Hooker had 242 yards passing and another 69 rushing. It was especially for an offense that Wake was bringing into town that day, it was a phenomenal effort on all sides. 3 phases of the game victory, a great way to send. It wasn't technically sending Bud Foster out, but it was Bud Foster Day in his last season in Blacksburg as a coach.
That's one of the biggest FOMO games that I have. I had no money, and I want to go to that game, and I had borrowed a coworker of mine's car to drive up from Atlanta, Riley Scott, and I was like, I can't ask this guy to borrow his car for the 3rd time in a row, so I opted out of this game. And man, I wish I went to that game. That was a good one. I remember that one.
Man, Billy Ray. If 2019 Billy Ray could see 2026 Billy Ray, he would be proud. I mean, we had the squirrel in the bed in Atlanta. We were sticking the thumb out on the side of the road. I mean,
it was down bad, man. It was a bad year for BRM. Michael, Coach Holmes, what do you got? I can't even talk about it, dude.
Right before the pandemic.
All right. Well, I'll talk about a time when I was also semi down bad. 2006, right? So at this point, I am bartending and living in Raleigh, North Carolina, and worked the night before. Worked the Friday night before.
I would have loved to have you as a bartender. You must have been the best bartender, Coach. I would have loved ordering drinks.
We had some fun. If you were in Raleigh, North Carolina, and Glenwood Avenue, and you were at Stool Pigeons or Flying Saucer, in Raleigh, we would have had some fun. But worked the Friday night before, and I didn't get back until like 3:00 that night. And so I wake up early in the morning because I'm meeting my folks in Winston-Salem. And so we get up there because it's my folks. We get up there at 8:00 in the morning. So I'm on like no sleep, and I am just slugging coffee and Coke, just heading up I have a beat up Jeep Wrangler, and I'm just heading down I-40 from Raleigh, heading up towards Winston-Salem. And we get there and we pull in. Tailgate's great. We have a lot that's right around the corner from BB&T, and so we tailgate. We do our thing. We'll go into the stadium and we commence to beat the absolute dog crap out of the future ACC champions. And Riley Leonard, not Riley Leonard, Riley
Skinner.
What was his last name? Riley Skinner.
Number
That's
11.
right. Pride of Jacksonville. Yeah. But Riley Skinner. He had no idea what hit him. It was an absolute butt whooping. I think Eddie Royal scored the first touchdown, and from then on it was just Katie bar the door. And there were more Hokie fans than there were Wake fans, which is not uncommon. And it was just a welcome. I think it was the second time we had played them in the ACC, but it was just a complete take behind the woodshed ass whipping, and it was absolutely fantastic. And then they go a couple weeks later and play the absolute worst stinker of an ACC championship game that has ever happened in the history of ACC championship games against Georgia Tech.
Coach, I was going to pick this one. There was some overlap here. I love it. The fact that you had a ranked Virginia Tech team, you had a ranked Wake Forest team. I remember the fumble return from, I believe it was a DB, where we jacked up their running back, or it was Skinner, and everyone thought the play was called dead, and then like a DB or one of our linebackers picked it up and just like kind of paused a little bit, and then saw that the play wasn't dead yet and just kept running, and then all of a sudden they hit pay dirt for 6. Wake was ranked number 14 that week, and then you have the worst ACC title game of all time, and then that team went to the Orange Bowl. I'm pretty sure they lost to Louisville. Was that what happened? But kind of annoying. 2006 is just an annoying year when it comes to Tech, because you lose back-to-back with Georgia Tech and Boston College, but that defense was so freaking awesome. I love that, Coach. I'm gonna do a quick pivot, and I'm gonna do not 2010, even though we did score 49 points at halftime in 2010, but I've already worn out my welcome.
That was
to
my
2010. Backup. So we're gonna do 2011. All I can remember about this game is that we wore new helmets with the TV on the road in Winston-Salem, and David Wilson went crazy this night. In particular, he ran so fast that he ran out of his shoe, and he lost his shoe, and Virginia Tech won that one 38-17. Again, like a lot of those games in 2010, 2011, with so much firepower on both sides of the ball. Not much of a contest with a foe like Wake Forest. So that's mine. 2011.
Why are you guys all lying? The most memorable game of the Wake Forest matchup by far was the meme game. I mean, there's no way that you think of Wake Forest and you're just like, man, 2006 was so great. No, you think about how awful November 22nd, 2014 was at Allegassy Field, Federal Credit Union Stadium.
Legacy.
Whatever it is.
Can't even read.
You live in North Carolina. Come on.
I didn't have perfect attendance like Pat did. I must have missed reading day. We lose that game 6-3, and 27,820 people allegedly saw a 0-0 game go into overtime and watch Tech lose in double overtime. Wake Forest that year, going into the game, was 2-8 and 0-6 in the ACC. They were awful. I found this stat shocking. It's the first power conference matchup to finish regulation scoreless since the 1983 Oregon State Toilet Bowl game in 1983. Teams combined for 18 punts, 5 missed field goals, and 4 turnovers. You had the Frank Beamer meme. The honorable mention that I do have, though, is the COVID year game. The season died on that day. You had Nick Anderson, who was at Wake Forest for what seems like a million years. An honestly amazing fill-in job by who was the walk-on that had to play safety because Fauci told him he couldn't play? Who was it?
Oh,
I don't know why I thought it was Vakitis, but that's from semi-pro. That's
Tyler
right.
yes, yes, Matheny.
Tyler Matheny. That's right. Tech lost that game 23-16 at Wake Forest. I was at my cousin's wedding. That sucked too.
Dude,
so
that was the Nick Anderson 3 picks on Hendon Hooker game. I was at that.
Why?
That was not a fun game to be at.
Wake has caused us some angst. I mean, some serious problems. 2 years ago, I was at the lake. I was at Lake Kiwi, and I was like, we got Wake today. Maybe it'll be one of the games that we win this year. Nope. Lost that game, too. So, sorry to be a Debbie Downer here, but we'll flip the page to Florida State. Paul, what do you got?
Well, the ultimate downer right here. January 4th, 2000.
Oh, no.
So I was there at the national championship game. Interesting fact, I've watched the third quarter probably 300 times since then. I've never once watched the fourth quarter of that game since I was there live, and I never will. Culmination of the best season ever. Really feels like what might have been. Really glad we got that far, and really wish we'd get back.
Do you need a minute? Looks
I
like
do.
you need a minute.
I do.
I could just hear it in your voice. I feel like
It hurt. And then we were staying in the Garden District about, it seems like 11 miles away, and we had to walk
of the Garden District.
because there was no transportation after the game. It was just a quagmire downtown. So we walked.
You walked 11 miles after the game?
No, it felt like it after a loss.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
I was about to say, man, it's kind of crazy.
Paul, we tailgated at the bus station in New Orleans. They had that big, huge roundabout right out front of it, and the parking along the roundabout was open to and there was a big grass field in front. So we tailgated in front of there, and my two uncles flew in and took cabs and landed there, and so it was me and my dad and my grandfather and my two uncles, and we had all been on Bourbon Street the night before. And I'm a freshman, so I'm 18 years old. So but we're just absolutely hammered, and go into the game, and it is the absolute greatest three quarters. But you kind of understood that there was a little bit of an omen, right? Because that first drive was so great, and then you fumble on the three, and then and it's just you're just like, oh man, if you just gotten up 7-0, what would that done? And you flash forward to 2026 and you think about if what Peter Warwick had done happened in 2026, there's no way he's playing in that game and we have a national championship trophy. The way they were able to sweep that shit under the rug, that was just it's unbelievable. But if ifs and buts were candy nuts, it'd be Christmas every day. So
I have to point out, if there was an award for and Pat, you got me on this last podcast with Ty on this. Nobody, and we're high-functioning members of society, so don't get it twisted, but nobody loves mentioning more that they were hammered at a Virginia Tech football game than me and Coach Holmes. There's not a person, there's no two people in the world like, oh, this game was awesome. I'll tell you what, I was obliterated on Friday night before that game. Nobody loves doing that more. Coach, what do you got for Florida State?
All right, so I'm actually going to go a little one that's slightly older by a little bit, and it's one that because my father grew up in Tampa, and so he has a slight aversion to Florida State, and so every time that they would play back when they were both independents back in the 70s and 80s, they played quite frequently, and the 1973 game in particular, Virginia Tech beat Florida State 36-13 in Blacksburg. It happened to be a relatively chilly November day. Florida State showed up. I guess their equipment manager forgot what month it was. They had cutoffs with the hollow mesh, and they froze their ass off. And Virginia Tech proceeded to beat their ass. And my dad will tell this story all the time. And it was and so that's that one that I always remember him telling.
Florida State had their way with us in a lot of those games that Coach Holmes was just talking about, and a lot of those games in the 90s too. And Bobby Bowden had his way against Coach Beamer up until 2007. Bowden was, I think, 15-0 up until that point against Virginia Tech, and he came into Blacksburg with 299 wins all time. However, he had never played Tyrod Taylor before, And Tyrod Taylor, who just came off beating Tommy Bowden a couple weeks prior, rolls in. This Florida State team was kind of, this was like year 1 or year 2 of Jimbo Fisher as their OC. They didn't really have much going on, and a scandal hit them later this year. A lot of scandal in the ACC over the last couple decades. We've been very clean, that at least. So I don't want to jinx us. Let's cut that out. But Virginia Tech goes in, beats Florida State in 2007, and all I can say is Chris Ellis returned an interception for a touchdown. Cam Chancellor blew up a receiver on the upper sideline, and 3rd and 31 happened in 2007. 2007, one of the best college football seasons of all time. Thankfully, Virginia Tech has a lot of storylines around 2007, so I'm going with that 2007 game.
I have a limited sample size against Florida State, but so I mentioned that the Wake Forest home game was my biggest FOMO of my season ticket era, missing a home game. My biggest FOMO road game was September 3rd, 2018. Number 19 FSU, number 20 Virginia Tech, Doak Campbell, 24-3, blow them out. National television. It's an amazing poster board, like brag rag situation for Virginia Tech, and a season that was largely forgettable after that. They had the swag surf at the beginning. What I loved that Fuente and Cornelison did in that game was they ran bubble until Florida State could stop it. So Florida State was running they gave wide receivers a 15-yard cushion. And we were just like, okay, I'm going to throw Sean Savoy the ball and he's going to run for 8 yards and then you're going to tackle him. And we did it over and over and over and over again. It was the Josh Jackson grit game. That was awesome. Played his absolute tail off. Remember, he got hurt when he did that somersault on the 2 or 3 yard line. That might have been that might have been the West Virginia game. But all I remember going in, Cam Akers this, Cam Akers that. Cam Akers is so amazing. Cam Akers, we held Florida State to 94 yards on the ground, and 85 of those came from Cam Akers in one run that was stopped short of the goal line.
By Bryce Watts.
Bryce Watts, dude, what a call out. What a call out. And then a couple of other things that were crazy. Eric Kuma had a punt block touchdown and a 49-yard touchdown reception. Maybe Eric Kuma's best game as a Hokie. I remember, I think it was Sean Savoy had a devastating block on that play. Or no, it was Trey Turner because he was a freshman. Trey Turner lit somebody up in that game. We punted 9 times and were 3 of 14 on 3rd down and averaged 2.8 yards per rush and still won by 21 points, which is kind of crazy.
Didn't Caleb Farley have multiple picks in that game?
Ooh.
He may have.
Don't forget Hazleton with multiple. Didn't he have multiple touchdowns? Or did he just have one? I feel like the Josh Jackson to Hazleton fade became a staple that afternoon.
It did because he had the Josh Jackson to Cam Phillips the year before, the fade that was awesome. And what was
don't
crazy...
forget. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go for it. You're on it. Go for it, dude. Go for it.
You
were there. I wasn't.
Don't forget shutting down DeAndre Reed-Francois.
Oh, dude. DeAndre Reed, who honestly, one of the toughest games I ever watched a quarterback play was DeAndre Reed-Francois against Ole Miss. They beat the piss out of him that entire game, and they found a way to win. I was very, very impressed with DeAndre Reed-Francois.
I'm just throwing some fun curveballs in there. It's Desiree Reed-Francois, but DeAndre Francois. I'm just, I'm putting two together there.
The last one that I'll call out is this marked the 100th win for Bud Foster when holding an opponent to 10 points or fewer. He finished his career 101 and 1 in 10 points or less. The 1 is the Wake Forest game. So fun caveat on that statistic.
As a road game guy, this is in my top 5 up there with at Notre Dame 2016, at Ohio State in 2014, and then probably throw another game that's on this list that I'm not going to say. But what an absolute time. I can't believe I didn't say this one instead of 2007.
Pat, not going to pin you down, but come on in the pool with me and Coach Holmes. Did you have some cold bevies at that Florida State trip? Did you have a good time in Tallahassee? I would imagine you probably did. I would imagine.
Anyone in our group who was there, we had like 300 people at a tailgate. It was like all recent grads. We had this group me fired up that was like the funniest thing ever. Doug Bowman was in that group chat. Matei. It was like the most electric, like, current student, young alumni tailgate. It started raining during the tailgate. It was
I remember Logan
outstanding.
Ross and Courtney Adams have photos where it looks like they literally were standing under a garden hose, like they were pruning at this football game. So
It was
Oh,
fantastic.
man.
And then what's the place? There's this is the place where all the boys went after above Madison Social called Recess. It was the
Ooh.
place to go. You played Enter Sandman on the jukebox at Madison Social, and you go upstairs to Recess where they had the pool bar up there.
Miami, Paul Patera.
Still to me, the most pivotal game in Tech history, 1995. Again, started out 0-2, ran the table to go win the Sugar Bowl. J.C. Price, 4 sacks. All of them were big. Dwayne Thomas, 165 yards rushing and a touchdown. For those of you that haven't seen it, right, I wrote a story on this game last fall for Sons of Saturday, so please go check it out. Interesting thing, we lost our first 12 games to Miami. This was the first of 5 straight. Amazing atmosphere. We stormed the field. Amazing day. I can't imagine what this program would look like had we started that season 0-3. But we beat Miami, we got that off of our back, and then we ran the table. Amazing year.
Was that the Keon Carpenter pick to ice it?
No, that was 96, and down in
That
Miami.
was 96. Okay.
Yeah, this
That was the first
Lauren
win in
Johnson
Miami.
actually
Yeah.
broke up the pass on the last play of the game for Miami's offense, and we won the game 13-7.
Of course, Paul knows exactly who and when and where and why.
All right. So my game is another pivotal game in this much ballyhooed series, the 2003 Snot Bubbles game. And so if you were on the chat rooms and the message boards back then in 2003, that was the Snot Bubbles game, as it is quite often referred to. Miami was ranked number 2 in the country. They had Sean Taylor, they had Kellen Winslow Jr. amongst others, and we proceeded to whoop their ass 31-7 in Blacksburg. We were ranked number 10, and it was not even close. That was the D'Angelo Hall, give it to me, Roscoe. You know, it was just, I mean, one of the best times I've ever had. Our maroon jerseys never looked more maroon than they did in that game. Go back and look at the video of that. That is what this is close, not even close, but our
Paul's
maroon
hat.
jerseys, Paul's hat is more close. That is what our maroon jerseys should look like. And it was a great atmosphere. Everyone was just, I mean, it was absolutely electric. It was what we needed to be, especially after what had happened the year prior, 2 years prior, and in Blacksburg. So it was just a phenomenal experience live.
I get
Pat?
the feeling that any Virginia Tech fan who was at that game really struggles to put any game ever in front of it. Is that true?
For
Any
me,
home
yeah.
game, any regular season, home game at least, right?
Yes, for
It
sure.
would be-
We're getting nods. Yeah.
It would be, in the moment, it was the greatest that you could feel. In the context of the season, it got some of the shine knocked off of it, but man, what a night.
Yeah, tough finish to 2003. I'm gonna speed it up to. I mean, I'm so Tyrod heavy focused here, but this is actually right after
These
Tyrod.
people are losing their minds.
This is it, Paul Patera. Now Miami wants to talk about it, and you got Al Golden in year 1. He's walking right into another scandal, the Nevin Shapiro scandal at Miami. Tech is coming off of this embarrassing loss against Clemson the week before, 23-3, and this is our second ACC game. So we're like, oh my gosh, are we going to start 0-2 in the ACC? Logan Thomas pitches a no-hitter. 23 of 25, throws for 310, 3 touchdowns. Everyone knows his famous 4th and 1, right up the middle. David Wilson was an absolute specimen on this day as well. 23 for 128. Did not get in the end zone, which is kind of a bummer looking back on it. It's because Logan Thomas had 2 scores on the ground. This was one of the best football games to ever be played in Lane Stadium. You had on the Miami side Lamar Miller, who was tough to tackle, scored late in the fourth quarter to keep it close, and then Ja'Cory Harris, not Ja'Cory Heisman. Ja'Cory Harris had a rough go at Lane Stadium. But this was just such an unbelievable game of football. You had Mike Patrick on the call. It was like your classic 3:30 game. Kept Virginia Tech in the ACC race for 2011. That was a very good defense at Tech. I think Miami scored more points than anyone else on us that year other than Clemson in the ACC championship. But now Miami wants to talk about it. Will always be my favorite lead-in. You get the Al Golden looking a little scared. You get the Sandman at the end. You get the Alonzo Tweedy tackle to ice the game. So much action. 2011 rocked.
That was
That
the first
zoom
time
out-
that we played. That was the first time that we played Enter Sandman mid-game, right?
The zoom out that they did after that tackle was just unbelievable camera work. Like they always like pan to the coach after, and he's like trying to get his headset off and whatnot. But they did the pan out. I mean, it was fantastic.
Matt
I really
Brown.
wanted to go with 2016 here. I really wanted to go with Brad Kaya getting sacked into oblivion. One of the loudest Lane Stadium moments ever until that 2021 UNC game. But I would be lying because it's the most
Here we
memorable
go.
game. And anytime I think of Miami, it was my first ever experience in Lane Stadium on a Thursday night. And everybody's talking about, man, Lane Stadium's different on Thursday night, man. Like, you got to check it out. Lane Stadium's different. It's cold out. I remember it was our redshirt year. And I went with C.J. Carroll and his family. And C.J. Carroll's mom's got, like, she used to do, like, this double lipstick thing where, like, it was orange on one side and maroon on the other side. She's got, like, face stickers on. She's ready to roll. I got on, like, my Carhartt jacket. I'm like, this is going to be great. Let's go. No. October 23rd, 2014, it was freezing cold. It was so bitterly cold. And Miami wins the game 30-6. The scoring streak almost came to an end here if it wasn't for a Mark Leal to Isaiah Ford touchdown with under 2 minutes to go. And I have this named the Duke Johnson game. Duke Johnson was unbelievable in this football game. And it was over immediately, 24-0 at halftime. We lost the ball on 3 consecutive second-half fumbles. I don't know how this text went through, but my dad sent me a text after the second fumble that was just WTF, all caps. So that was tough. We were also outgained 456 to 262, and Duke Johnson finished with 286 all-purpose yards. But damn, did it not feel like 500 all-purpose yards. He was unbelievable. So that's my pick for Miami, unfortunately. Was anybody at that game?
Yeah.
It was cold. It was very cold. It was a very, very cold day.
I think I won a championship in tailgating that day. Wouldn't like to talk about it.
Boston College. Paul.
November 26, 1999, 38-14, capping the unbeaten season. The things that I remember about that game, Coach Beamer on the makeshift podium on the field after the game, after everybody stormed the field, saying, how many of y'all am I going to see in New Orleans? I remember that. I remember winning, I think we were leading 38-7 at the time, and Chris Hovan for Boston College, who I think went on to play for the Vikings, he gets a tackle for a loss, and he jumps up and looks at us in the student section and does the throat slash thing, and everybody, like 40,000 people, point to the scoreboard in unison. And Michael Vick, 11 for 13, 290 yards, 3 touchdowns, 76 yards rushing, and a touchdown, capping a third place in the Heisman season. Amazing
Did
game.
they show that They threw sugar cubes after that game, correct? Was that the
I
game they
have,
threw the sugar
yes,
cubes?
and I have a sugar cube. Believe it or not, I have a sugar cube.
course you do.
In this closet over here, in a little bag.
That's awesome.
Still have it.
Don't let Billy Ray in that closet. That sugar cube might get eaten.
By the way, also, that game is responsible for one of the greatest Lane Stadium photos of all time. I think it was Sports Illustrated from the east stands overlooking the west stands before the press box was built. They had the orange and maroon perfect skyline sunset right before kickoff of that game, and it was just absolutely perfect.
I'll
And
tell
the
you
other
this,
photo
Billy
that's
Ray,
so good.
I'll tell you this before you
Yeah.
get started. Of all the pictures that I have in my Hokie room, that game has the most pictures, and this is one of them right here.
It was meant to be.
The other picture that comes to mind is the one of Michael Vick being carried off on people's shoulders, which is fantastic. And then the other one is Coach Beamer waving the towel. I think it's actually a video. That's absolutely fantastic. So, Coach Holmes.
So before I start, that's actually a section 5 picture. That's actually, if you think about it. So that is right above, because we were in section 5, row U. That was our season tickets back in those days, and so that's where they were, right above where we were. Anyway, so my game is unfortunately not a win, but it is extremely memorable, and it is the Sid Vicious game of 2006. So their kicker and backup kicker had both gotten hurt. And this was I think it was the Jagosinski era. And they had walk-on tryouts that week. And this guy named Steve Aponovicius, they brought him in. And I think he was 5 of 5 for kicking. And they beat us 22-3 in Chestnut Hill on October 12th, 2006. And it was just it was a Thursday nighter, and it was just nasty, ugly, just ugh. It was just, and the fact that you got beat on special teams during the Beamer era by a walk-on, picked up off the street kicker.
That's tough.
That was just, that's the most memorable one for me.
But at least we
I
kept
think
the
that
scoring
was the
streak.
one. I think that was the one where Herb Street was giving us grief for dancing on the field during a timeout.
Yeah.
Herb Street went in on B Hill. And he was like, bro, our offense hasn't scored a touchdown.
The defense showed up. Yeah.
Oh, man, that was so brutal. So brutal. In 2006, like, man, if we just had an offense, like that team could have been, I mean, it was a special team, but you look at that Chick-fil-A Bowl and you're like, man, what the heck? I think Mr. Sid Vicious, for mine, Coach Holmes, you can't mention one without mentioning the other when it comes to Steve Vicious. And we got to fast forward a year to 2007. Matt Ryan does nothing. 0 for 55 minutes. And then he throws these 2 touchdowns in the last 2 minutes and 11 seconds.
Pat.
You got your number 2 Boston College team, number 8 Virginia Tech. Thursday night, this is up there. Pitt 2019, UNC 2016, A&M 03 rain games. I mean, like, anyone who was there was wetter than ever. Calendars open in the back of the end zone, just wide open. And Sid Vicious, I mean, this was Rich Gunnell, this was, I think, Jamie Silva, Matt Ryan, obviously, Andre Callender. They had a calendar and a challenger on their team, which was just kind of confusing. And Steve Aponovicius recovers the onside kick after the first touchdown for Matt Ryan. So that guy really, like, I don't know what he's doing right now. He might be a consultant or in private equity in the greater Boston metro area. But he sure left his mark on this Hokie's heart and with you guys as well. Boston College would have been the 4th number 2 ranked team to lose in 4 consecutive weeks had they lost that game. However, let's spin it around. we take care of business. You can't talk about one without talking about the other. Take care of business a few weeks later in Jacksonville, 30-16. My ACC championship game MVP Sean Glennon throws for 3 touchdowns. Outduels Matt Ryan, who throws 2 picks. You got X sealing the deal on the pick 6, and Tyrod sprinkled in some contributions as well, setting up a touchdown run, went for 31 yards on a scamper to set up a touchdown to go ahead. So you can't talk with one without mentioning the other. But Boston College, those games used to be fun, man. We were talking about this with Ty Hildebrandt the other night. Boston College is just gone.
Yeah, it's off the face of the planet. While I'm answering this, Paul, do you mind looking up Aponovic's LinkedIn? I would have done it, but if I did that, I would have spelt it totally wrong. See what he's up to. So this one, this is the last loss that I'm going to mention here. And it happened on October 31st, 2019. This was the first time that Pat, Finn, and I attended a game, the same game, knowing each other. This was the Boston Massacre. This was that video from The Office where Stanley Hudson is dribbling a basketball, and we're all like, wait, what? That's what it looks like? Are you serious? And it was the other Ryan Willis game. Talk about a massive kick to the nads, dude. I mean, epic week in Boston. Can't talk about Boston College without saying it. Had a great time. Went to a Sox game. We went to Union Oyster House, and I got a steak to eat there, and I got a steak to go because I was hungry. And I must have had like a bonus check that week that I spent irresponsibly. The tailgating was brutal. The crowd was brutal. And worst of all, Virginia Tech had 442 yards, 29 first downs, 1 time of possession, was 3 of 3 on 4th down, and lost the game 35-28 behind 5 turnovers. 3 interceptions for Ryan Willis, fumble from Ryan Willis, and Hezekiah Grimsley fumbled to punt, recovered by Westwood legend, who I grew up with, Nolan Borgeson. That game sucked. So when I think of Boston College, I think of that game, and also think about just all of the games where they were always competitive, and Boston College always had a running back that got drafted that year in the 2nd or 3rd round. Every single year, it seemed like. So that's what I'll go with Boston College.
Steve Aponovicius, with a profile picture smiling like he just beat Virginia Tech, has been at Wells Fargo for 13 and a half years. He is currently a relationship manager in the healthcare, higher education, and nonprofit banking sector. So
in Boston?
He is in the greater Philadelphia area for PD.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
One angry white town to another angry white sports town. Amazing. We got NC State, Paul. Who you got?
I'm probably going to – I know I'm going with one that none of you is going to pick. 1986 Peach Bowl at the old Fulton County Stadium.
Oh!
Chris Kinzer, 40-yarder, as time expired, given the double-finger salute to the sideline. David Everett, who just retired from the Hokie Club with a big catch late in the game. Bill Dooley's last game. Lee Corso was the color commentator on the telecast a year before he joined ESPN. At the time, the greatest day in Tech history because it was our first bowl win.
Chris Kinzer came on the podcast a while back. I don't remember exactly how Pat connected with him, but Pat connected with Chris Kinzer, and I encourage you all to check out that interview. That was great. Some great uniforms in that game, too. Just like every picture you see of it is like a super nostalgic looking photo from football back in the day. So that was a good one. I love that one, Paul. What do you got, Coach Holmes?
Hokie lore before Coach Holmes gets started. The holder on the kick was George Balance's dad.
Wow. Okay. That is a good point.
All right. Mine is from the – sorry, Pat, if you have this one – from the Tyrod Taylor era. This is the November 21st, 2009 game. Russell Wilson was the quarterback for the NC State Wolfpack. This game was played in Raleigh, North Carolina. This is the Ryan Williams game. 4 touchdowns. 4 touchdowns. 32 carries, 120 yards, 4 touchdowns. Tyrod had a kind of pedestrian day, 9 of 17, 197, and 1 score. But Virginia Tech, ranked number 15 in the country. NC State had kind of a down year. This was Chuck Amato's last year, right? Before they hired Tom O'Brien.
I actually don't
For
know.
TOB?
I feel like Chuck Amato didn't last long, but I had to watch this game on ESPN 360. This is before like all the packages. This was like I remember watching this game at Macaroni Grill with my family, like on someone's like bootlegged. It was awful.
Oh,
I couldn't.
I remember.
I couldn't access half of Hokie football games if they weren't on ESPN or on ABC, like or ESPN. I would hope for ESPNU. Like that's how not good it was.
We had a Roku, and so I was able to able to stream on this. But yeah, I remember sitting in my. We had just moved into our townhome in Richmond, in Midlothian, Virginia, right outside of Brandermill, and sitting there watching this game, and it was absolutely unbelievable, unbelievable game, unbelievable performance from Ryan Williams, and the most memorable moment was him just carrying that for the last 7 or 8 yards, that NC State defender who was holding onto his jersey and just high stepping and dragging that guy down the sideline for the last 7 or 8 yards for the score. And it was just unbelievable performance from that guy. 34 was awesome.
You never saw anyone run like that guy. Someone, I think it was Ox or Joe Rogers, posted the UVA clip from 2009, and Ryan Williams also had like 4 touchdowns that day, and the way that he would just explode through the line of scrimmage every time. Coach, was that also the day that Cody Grimm had a big first half, forcing the fumbles? Was that the same game?
I think it might have been. I'm not. I was looking back through the stats and I couldn't find some of the defensive stats. But yeah, Cody Grimm is one of my all-time favorite players. Like me and my brother used to always have a saying, like Cody Grimm was a man child and he had his own zip code. Like we stole the Varsity Blues line. Like he was just a straight up dude. And every time he was on the field, it looked like he was making a play.
Here's what Cody did that day. Cody forced 3 fumbles in 4 plays during the game, tied the single game record for forced fumbles, and he led the nation in forced fumbles in 2009 with 7. So big day for Cody Grimm. Coach Holmes, I'm going to take your 2009 and tack another onto that 2010. We got Russell and Tyrod again, dueling in Raleigh. Hokies start the game down 17-0. Again, this is 2010. Like, you lose to JMU and everyone's like, what are these guys doing? And come out slow out of the gate. And then Tyrod did what Tyrod does, 123 yards through the air, 121 on the ground, 3 total touchdown passes. 1 to Andre Smith, 1 to Jared Boykin. Darren Evans truly shined this day. Had a big 54-yard touchdown. But the true mojo that kept us in this football game at the beginning of the second half was our guy, David Wilson, number 4, putting some life into the Hokies. And also, not to mention, Jaron Hosley, who had a short-lived NFL career, but will always go down in history for picking off Russell Wilson 3 times on this day. The NC State games over the years, I feel like you kind of just have your career day against the Wolfpack. You got Ryan Williams, you got Cody, you got Hosley, but this was just an unbelievable football game. Russell Wilson threw for over 300 yards. NC State was ranked. They were ranked number 23, and they hadn't been in the polls in almost a decade. And this was Tom O'Brien, and this is when Tom O'Brien was saying, hey, Russ, you got to play football, not baseball. And we all know what happened with Wolfpack Nation. Let's ride with Russell. But were any of you guys at that game?
I
Was not.
I was moving to Omaha, Nebraska. We were driving from St. Louis to Omaha that day, listening to that game on the radio, of all things.
My favorite thing about Coach Holmes and Coach Paul over here, these guys have just lived everywhere.
Yep. There are so many good games between Virginia Tech and NC State. I think back to the COVID game where we started the season fast, looked really, really good, wore great helmets in that game. Won that game in 2020. I think back to last year. Last year, that was a fun win. Speaking of having career days, Terrion Stort was great in that football game. Got that win that game. You start talking yourself into winning 2 or 3 more ACC games. We didn't do that, unfortunately. But the game that I went with, and it's just because, again, it's like formative in the beginning of my Virginia Tech super fandom, was October 9th, 2015. Tech wins this game 28-13. Pat, you were talking about poncho effect. This didn't rain the whole day. It just monsooned for like, I think, a 45-minute to 1 hour window. We started this game down 10-0. And then you get 3 touchdowns from Brendan Motley to the Isaiah Ford. I have this labeled as the Isaiah Ford monsoon game. An insane interception by Adonis Alexander. Like, the TV didn't catch it on the first play, if I remember. It had to be replayed, and you were like, oh my gosh, how did he catch that? And that interception ended Jacoby Brissett's 241 consecutive passes without an interception, which I think that statistic on its own has led to Jacoby Brissett being in the NFL for, I mean, he's carved out a pretty miraculous. Jacoby Brissett and Tyrod Taylor, amazing careers in the NFL where they flirt with being the guy and then some bad situations and you're the backup. And then lastly, Tech rushed for 200 yards and committed 0 turnovers. So I'll go with the NC State game in 2015.
Can I give an honorable mention game real quick? Can I give an honorable mention game real quick? The 2005 game, which was an absolute slobber knocker of a game, like just like back and forth defensive slugfest, and Marcus Vick leads a drive late for the go-ahead touchdown. And I was, again, living in Raleigh at the time, had a bunch of Wolfpacker friends, and we were all sitting in the upper corner. They had that little section of bleachers kind of in the corner there, and it was we almost didn't make it out. That's how bad it was. Those Wolfpackers in the red and white were a little ornery that day because of, I guess, Marcus Vick's reputation. Obviously, can't believe they beat him. They're also a little salty that we were still new in the league and we were punking them. I think that was our first trip to Raleigh as members of the ACC. So they were not too thrilled with that. But that would be an honorable mention one for me.
Would you guys agree that NC State, outside of Cal, because they're my favorite, is probably my favorite ACC fan base? And the reason why is because they haven't had a whole lot to get excited about. They always show up, and they're extremely passionate, which is a rarity in the ACC. They're my second favorite fan base and number 1 favorite fan base in like the original ACC. Pat, you have thoughts?
It would be nice if we had, instead of Boston College, but some of those games were good. It would have been a lot more fun if those cross-divisional games in the old model was with NC State, just so we can have a little bit more of a rapport with them, right? I feel like, we kind of got a scratch and claw for, a good game every 4 or 5 years, but, they could have been like a Georgia Tech, where every other game was for the division crown type thing. I do agree with you, Billy Ray. I think Georgia Tech, or NC State is a nice comp, and I enjoy going down there. I love Carter Finley. I know they just did some work on the stadium. Their people are nice. I mean, what's not to love?
Raleigh's a great town too. I loved my time living there. And I know Sam's not on here, but I know Sam's got Raleigh connections, and but Raleigh is a absolutely fantastic town.
Agreed.
We got 5 left here, and I'm bowing out of this one because I don't have a wealth of knowledge on Maryland, but I know that this group does. So, Paul, what do you got for Maryland?
I will, but before we get started with Maryland, I do want to make sure that we realize and recognize the real MVP of the 2020 NC State game, and that's Braxton Burmeister's mom's mustard packets.
Yes. What a throw! I got to tell you, Braxton Burmeister, he's been getting a couple of highlights lately. I totally forgot about the Clemson heave where Blackshear stepped out on like the 1 yard line for us not to go in at 17-17 right before halftime. I mean, one of the better games that I've seen, one of the tougher games that I've seen a Virginia Tech quarterback play was against Notre Dame, the game that we lost at home. I mean, Braxton Burmeister, I feel like Braxton Burmeister is like 5 degrees off of Michael Brewer. Can I land the plane here real quick? Both objectively good-looking dudes, both objectively on not forgettable but not great Virginia Tech teams, and played really hard. I think there are a lot of parallels between the two. It just so happens that Michael Brewer has the Ohio State win under his belt and has the 2 UVA wins under his belt. I don't know. I just thought of that in the moment. Kind of proud of myself. Can give myself some packies on the backies.
So this is
yeah.
So you're saying this is the Jordan versus LeBron debate for like above average, but wasn't on the best team. Here's the thing about Burmeister, because the Burmustard was such a good callback.
Mm-hmm.
The Burmeister era is kind of a bummer because he was affiliated with the coach that got fired, and he transferred out, and that was kind of it. He was in, he was here for 2 years, and then, his coach wasn't retained, and that was it.
And he's going against a Heisman finalist, too. That doesn't help either.
If you put Burmeister on, if you sub him in for Grant Wells, for example, I'm not going to say that he's a hero or he's winning us football games, but I feel like people might think of him a little bit differently than they do. Also, if you give him that Notre Dame win. I mean, his Notre Dame win, that would have been, up there with the Michael Brewer Ohio State win.
And who knows, before this episode is over, he may come up with the UNC game. We'll have to see once we get to that spot in the lineup.
Yeah, we will have to see.
Maryland. I will pick a game that neither one of you, Pat or Mike, will pick. 1993. Scott Milanovich.
You doubled up again?
Yeah. Scott Milanovich is a name that not many know, but he currently, and has for 30 years, held the record for most yards passing by an opposing quarterback, 498 yards against us on September 25th, 1993. And all it got him was a 55-28 loss to the Hokies. Wow. Maurice DeShazo, 10 of 16 for 256 and 4 touchdowns. Touchdown Tommy Edwards with 144 yards and 2 scores. And our favorite Hokie, Antonio Freeman, 122 yards and 2 touchdowns. That was an offensive juggernaut that day in Lane Stadium. I still remember it to this day. Thanks, Scott Milanovich, for all the yards. You still lost by 4 scores.
Is Maurice DeShazo the most underrated swaggy player in Virginia Tech history? When people think about swag, they think of Michael Vick. When people think of swag, I got to tell you, Aiden Green always dripped out in some designer stuff. But Maurice DeShazo, some of his old photos, you're like, that's a cool-looking quarterback for, 1990, whatever. I do want to put some respect on DeShazo.
He was OG swag.
What's his name?
He was OG swag, and if it had not been for his senior season getting a new offensive coordinator that tried to change the offense that didn't suit him, he would be thought of a lot differently by a lot of fans. But he is one of the better ones, and he was the first quarterback that Tech had that raised the level on the swagger.
Can you imagine being somebody listening to that game and having never seen Virginia Tech play a game, and they're like, a scramble by DeShazo. DeShazo throws it. You're going to be like, this Italian guy is killing us. Maurice DeShazo, not Italian. But I just thought that was funny. Go ahead, Coach.
Real quick, raining to beat the band that game. It was one of the wettest games I remember being at. And 4 players were ejected during that game, including Dwayne Thomas, our running back. 4 players were ejected during that game. So there was a fight broke out, and it was so they kicked 4 players out. They had to have police on both sidelines. So it was kind of a memorable game. I do distinctly remember that being a middle schooler at the time in 1993. But my game is going to be the 2005 game, October 20th, 2005. Another one from the Marcus Vick era. It was kind of a slow, plodding game. Neither team had a lot of offensive firepower for the first part of the game. We turned it on late. But Virginia Tech ended up with almost 500 yards of offense, 497 yards of offense total. Pretty even, 286 rushing, 219 passing. So it was pretty even down the lane. But it was I'll remember that one specifically because of almost getting carjacked driving into College Park. We were staying at a buddy's house in D.C. and we said, okay, we'll just stay at our buddy's house in D.C. We'll drive into College Park, and we leave D.C. and we drive through some not the best neighborhoods.
Where Maryland is, yeah.
and we get it, and we're at a stoplight, and it is a red light, and thankfully no cars were coming because somebody comes to our door and starts yanking on the door handle, and we just peel out. And
I'll tell you what, Coach, they're lucky they didn't get in that door. You're the wrong guy. I wouldn't. If I was the carjacking type, you wouldn't be my first customer.
Yeah, it was. But it was that was definitely a memorable experience, and but luckily we came out there with a win and made it home safe, and good times were had by all after we got there and tailgated. Pat?
Coach, that was a nice era when we were playing Maryland on an annual basis, and I'll speed it up a couple years past that. We have 2008 was an interesting year, very interesting year. I think we finished 5-3 in the Coastal and won the championship. But Brandon Orr was kicked off the team in March. We went into the year with our quarterback controversy because, you have your defending ACC championship game MVP in Sean Glennon. You have your 5-star Tyrod Taylor. If you have two quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks. Oh, by the way, let's throw a third in there. He wears number 8. His name is Greg Boone, and he's going to take direct snaps all night. The wild turkey offense. He had 6 carries for 22 yards. We also had Sean Glennon start that day because Tyrod was battling, I believe it was ankle injuries throughout that 2008 campaign. What stands out from this night, other than Virginia Tech overcoming 2 consecutive losses midway through the year in the Coastal? Darren Evans runs for 253 yards on this day and a touchdown. Unbelievable night. Every other snap he was getting, he was going for 30-plus yards, and this school record stood until Bashal Tootin broke it in 2024 when he went for 266 on the ground against Boston College. But he was unbelievable that night as well. I also personally, fun story and something that is just ridiculous, but my dad brought me to this one. This is my first ever night game in Lane Stadium. This was my first ever Thursday night game in Lane Stadium. I was a 8th grader. And he brings me, he says, hey, my boss, he's a Maryland alum. He's the CEO of this company. And he says, hey, you got tickets to this Maryland game, Kev? And Kev's like, yeah. And he's like, all right, you get us tickets. I can get us there. So we go to Teterboro, New Jersey, and we have a private charter to Blacksburg. We get to Blacksburg around noon in the Blacksburg airport. We have like an epic, tailgate. Upton's doing cheesesteaks on the grill. And I'm like 13 years old at this point. I'm like, this is unbelievable. We do our campus walk. I took like 1 million pictures on my digital camera that I still have. And the game rocked. Sandman was epic at night, fireworks, and we're in our bed in New Jersey before 1 a.m., and the next morning my dad's like, dude, I hope you enjoyed that because you might never get to do that again in your entire life. But it was an epic day for a 13-year-old kid who'd never been to a game like that at Tech.
How unfair for me to get all of the Nepo baby comps, and you're out here PJing your way to Virginia Tech games. That must have been epic. And we're turning the page here to North Carolina, and Paul did prep me to go ahead and do this. So we put this out on social media today. Paul, I'm assuming this is the game you're going to go with. It's probably the game we all want to go with. So walk us through what everyone's seeing on the screen now and that game for you.
Call this the Pat
There we
Finn
go.
cameo appearance game. 3 Tech quarterbacks throw a touchdown pass that day, but this will always be the Quincy Patterson game. 122 yards rushing, the epic 53-yard touchdown run down the middle, Hazelton's one-handed grab, and Quincy's two-point conversion at the end to seal it. So we get home and we watch this game, and my wife is sitting on the couch, sort of behind me. I'm obviously being a horrible husband and only paying attention to the television screen and not seeing what she was doing. But she's taken probably 50 pictures of me during the game, and she, unbeknownst to me, cobbles them all together and gives them to me in a frame for Christmas a month or so later. And this is what it's like to be a Tech fan in one picture.
Can we all just riff about this game? I mean, this game was so great for so many reasons. It was the last game that I didn't sit in. I believe it was the last game I didn't sit in Section 5 for. And man, it's one of those. It's kind of like the Metallica concert. It's kind of like the 2021 UNC game. If you weren't there, I just got to say that sucks tremendously. No disrespect, Paul. I'm glad we got these pictures, but it was so overwhelmingly, epically awesome. Mike, were you there?
I was not. Not.
Gosh, sorry guys. Damn.
Mike,
it was fun.
Mike, had you moved to Colorado yet? Were we in both in Colorado?
Yeah, we were in. I was in Colorado.
Yeah. The craziest thing, Pat, if you remember, we recorded a podcast for 2 hours. And then we were like, I think that was trash. Let's do it again. Like we just went on there and we were so emotional about it the whole time. I was in my Twilio office like at 8:00, like recording this podcast. And then we got to the end of it and we were like, was that good? And we were all like, not really. Are we going to do this again? And we did. We recorded another 3-hour podcast about it. That's funny.
This game is my
All right.
Roman Empire and
Oh,
Mona
sorry, go
Lisa all in one. Oh my gosh. I mean, you want to, like, this is my Miami 2003 because I wasn't at that one.
Yeah.
Longest game ever in ACC history. I'm going to sound like a jerk back to back with these stories, but I was on the field all game for this one, so that was pretty awesome.
Pat, do you remember? Like, it's crazy to think about that game because it feels like it happened in distinct chapters. Like, I remember they had like a cool flyover before the game, and that was like 5 hours before the game ended. And Pat, on the Quincy Patterson touchdown, there's a video of him jumping with the Hokie bird like on the broadcast of the game. Like,
we cannot talk about this broadcast without talking about the commentary from, I think his name is Tom Hume, who was on the call this game, and he was unreal.
So good.
It's Ladler again. Quincy Patterson. Like,
I think it's like, is it Tom Worm? Isn't that
Tom
his name?
Worm,
Tom Worm. Yeah.
He was so good. Hazelton, Bo Corrales,
Storm Duck.
and he's like, Patterson's gonna go. It's
Dude,
so funny.
the calls in that game were so. And what's crazy is for I think 2 years after that, Pat, we went through this weird phase where we would just say Virginia Tech stuff to each other, and I think we said Bo Corrales like literally hundreds of times.
Bo Corrales, Virginia Tech has won it in 6 overtimes.
Oh,
And you
that
had
was what's so
Sam
funny is
Howell.
we can
Yes.
we can quote that game like we can quote a movie. And we didn't even watch the live broadcast. We've just rewatched we finished that game. I had a splitting migraine because I walked from the stadium to Carolee Donuts to get an Uber, and it was pouring rain. And all I remember is it was one of those games, Pat, where like the game was over. It's like, should we pull up the condensed game? And I think we watched it like 10 times. We probably watched the condensed game like 10 times.
This is also the game that John Cran will like text us. He'll be like, it'll be like a random like morning in March, and he'll be like, "Dude, I just played your 6 overtime UNC pod again." He's like, and this was also right after the Duke game that we lost 45-10.
Yes.
Like we lose that game, and then we go to Miami and win, and then you got this game. Like this was a crazy up and down year, and Sam Howell like threw 5 touchdowns this game, but this was just epic. epic. Ruggles
So-
missed his, and then it hits Luke Tenuta's helmet. Oh my gosh, what an
The game was
epic.
over when Brian Johnson missed the field goal. I completely convinced myself that we were going to lose that game, and we didn't. Luke Tenuta blocking kicks with his dome. I mean, just unreal.
So-
All right,
Sorry.
Coach.
Sorry,
I
Matt.
had it.
I did not watch this game live.
The 2019 game.
I had a football game of my own because Colorado splits games up. Yes, we won,
All
but they have Friday and Saturday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday games. They chop everything up because nobody has their own stadiums out here, and so they have
TiVo
to
it?
split stadium. So I had it DVR'd, and I was able to watch it after the fact. But my text messages and everything, so it was already spoiled. And I had no idea what was going on. We were playing Chapel Hill. I was like, oh, we're gonna whoop their ass anyway. So I go back and watch it, and I was like, oh, he went down. Oh, he went down. And I was like, oh, Quincy Patterson's got to come in. And I'm watching this over, knowing what the end result is, but like seeing the puzzle pieces come together, it's just. But not being able to watch it live was just. It feels like a part of your soul is missing a little bit because it's such a part of Hokie lore of the past decade, and I've only seen it after the fact.
Yeah.
It's just one of those that's just but if we have to pick a second one that's based on pure personal achievement, mine is the 2004 game. We're in Chapel Hill, and by the way, it is the only stadium in the country where the lower seats you have, the worse seats you have. If you are in the first like 10 rows, you can't see the field.
Yeah.
It is the worst designed stadium. Must have a UVA engineer design that damn thing. It is the worst engineered stadium in the country. If you are in the upper part of the lower concourse, half the seats have a massive concrete pillar that block your view. So you can't see a damn thing that way. And if you're below the first 10 rows, you can't see the entire field. So of course that's where they put all the visiting fans. So I'm in like row 9 in like the 30-yard line. So I can only see like above the crown of the field. And so but this is the Mike Emo, sets the single game Virginia Tech rushing record at the time game. 31 carries, 236 yards, 2 touchdowns. And for a guy of his stature to be able to do that against, at the time, Chapel Hill had a pretty good, they were still pumping out some NFL guys. Darryl Tapp had 2 sacks in that game. Eddie Royal had 4 catches for 84 yards. Brian Randall, 7 of 18 for 100 yards passing. But that was just a human dynamo performance from Mike Emo. Single-handedly won us that game, and it was a close game. It was 27-24. It wasn't a blowout. If it wasn't for Mike Emo, because I think Cedric Humes might have gotten banged up in that game, and that's why he got all the carries. That's why Emo got all the carries, but took advantage of the opportunity. And but that game being our first visit to Chapel Hill as members of the ACC, epic season, and that was a fantastic single man performance. Pat,
Take it, Pat.
When I think of that, Coach, I think just orange socks. We had the orange socks that game, all the way up.
maroon pants with the orange socks.
They look great. Quick aside about 2019 UNC. My dad left that game at halftime because him and I were watching on the field, and he had like some Monogram Club passes. I think that's how it worked out. And he wanted to play in his over 50s soccer game the next morning, and he's like, the only way I could play in this game is if I drive home at halftime. So him and my mom drove home at halftime, missed the whole 6 overtimes in the second half, but had a very entertaining 7-hour drive home. I'm sure the game was still on when they got back to New Jersey. So I know we've been giving Carolina a lot of airtime here, so I'll try to be quick because I don't know if they deserve that much real estate on this pod.
No, they don't.
Well, I mean, we've beaten them every time. It's I'm kind of enjoying it.
I feel like we're Coach Fu on the TSL pod a few weeks ago. So, Kenan Stadium in 2016, Hurricanes imagine how good a Pete McGee Hokie haiku would have been about this game. You got Hurricane Matthews canceling games up and down the East Coast, but not Carolina and not the famous, I believe it was 9-6 NC State Notre Dame game, which had like 15 combined fumbles just a few miles away. This was the powder puff pansy 34-3 demolition of, who was it? Trubisky. And this was the game that, what's his name, Tar Heels Illustrated or whatever, tweeted before the game and after the game, keeping track of how many pass attempts Trubisky had gone without throwing a pick. He throws some picks this game, okay? The one I distinctly remember was the Greg Stroman one, but I think there were a few. They turned it over 4 times. What was crazy was we dismantled this team in all phases of the game. I think Sam Rodgers might have caught or thrown a touchdown pass. Like, everything about this game was dominance. Trubisky was leading the country in completion percentage. He was top 10 in passing yards per game. He was literally, he had hung the moon. 13 touchdowns, 0 picks. And after this game, after putting up 0 touchdowns, Tar Heels Illustrated says, like, excluding Hurricane games, Mitch Trubisky hasn't thrown an interception in 261 attempts. This guy totally got put through the ringer of Virginia Tech Twitter.
I think the active word was disregarding. Disregarding Hurricane games.
So I got to tell you, I actually think that UNC is it's the team that I hate the most, but they're always great games. They really are. Like, these aren't even my picks. Like the 2021 game, the Billy Ray cried game, I did cry. It was overwhelmingly epic. Just a fantastic afternoon. I remember more community and like just hugging your friends, being back in Blacksburg more than I remember anything. Like, that was just amazing. I remember 2017 where we absolutely pulverized them in our orange creamsicle uniforms. Greg Stroman scoring a touchdown in the 25 jersey. That was awesome. But I went with this one, and this is actually kind of a deep cut. October 13th, 2018. It was the drive, and it was my last it's actually not my last Ryan Willis game. Insane steal of a game. We win that game 22-19. We were outgained by 147 yards. They were up by 2 scores for most of the game. And you got to think about it. 2018, you lose this game, you lose the bowl streak. Ryan Willis goes 221 for 2 touchdowns and a 33-yard rushing touchdown. UNC is driving to go up 2 scores, and they fumble on the goal line, basically, on a 4th and 9, where the game's over if he takes a knee or he slides down. And Ryan Willis drives the Hokies 98 yards in 18 plays with a game winner from Dalton Keene with 19 seconds left. That was an unbelievable football game. So I will go with 2018 UNC.
Anything, as long as it wasn't the 2020 Mickey Mouse game, which had over 100 points scored. Ridiculous.
I'm bowing out of Clemson because I don't have a deep enough bag here other than the Kelly Bryant game and the water fountains and whatnot. I'm not even going to do that.
Can we also do an honorable mention for the clip that is shown at the beginning of every college football preseason, which is the 2021 game?
You mean the
welcome back to college
carpet?
football. Yes, with the horrible camera work. And Sam Howell was one of the preemptive favorites to win the Heisman Trophy, and we made him look like garbage in that game. And we come out in our all orange and take
Smash
care of
'em.
business.
Last 3. Clemson, I'm bowing out. Paul, what do you got?
Clemson, September 12th, 1998, the last time I was actually physically in Clemson, South Carolina for a game. We waxed them 37-0. when Shane Graham hit a 53-yard field goal as time expired in the first half. We were winning 34-0. The Clemson fans called it a day. We held them to 102 yards of offense. Brandon Streeter, a name that many know, was intercepted 4 times by us, 3 times by Lorenzo Ferguson. And did you know Gene Steratore was the side judge that day?
Did not know that. That is a crazy fun fact. Did not know that.
Deep cut.
Coach Holmes.
So I was a senior in high school that year. My offensive line coach had played at Clemson, and I brought him a turkey the next day for Sunday film. So that was a fun afternoon. My last time in Memorial Stadium in Clemson, South Carolina, was October 6, 2007. And that was Virginia Tech beat Clemson 41-23 that day. That was also a phenomenal. Clemson thought they were going to psych us out by wearing their all purple and run down the hill and touch the rock and do all their pomp and circumstance with their purple jerseys on, and they proceeded to play like purple jersey wearing people, and we whooped their hind parts. It was not even close. Just a fantastic game all the way around. And I've sat twice once for a South Carolina Clemson game where I was in the middle of the upper deck, and then this game we were in the second row from the top, and that stadium is literally straight up, and it is very daunting the higher up you go in that stadium.
Clemson 2007. What an absolutely epic game. Macho, Eddie Royal, DJ Parker, Cam Martin. Both Martins were flying around. That was the best defensive hard-hit game we've had in the past 20 years, you could argue. Brandon Flowers was like a man on fire that night. Just when I think of favorite Virginia Tech game ever, that's in my top 10. I'll jump back a year. 2006, scary Clemson coming in. Top 10 Clemson, Thunder and Lightning, James Davis, CJ Spiller rolling in. This is another Thursday nighter. Had a sold-out Lane Stadium, and we just went to work. Brandon Orr ran for 203 yards, scored twice, and our defense was just lights out. Held them to 80 rushing yards. We ran the ball 58 times, just completely ran down their throat. We didn't have much of an offense in 2006, as we have lamented. But again, orange socks were back in action, all maroon other than the socks. And this game ended Clemson's 26-game streak of never losing by more than 6 points. So we took them to the shed back-to-back years before Clemson became Clemson, now Clemson.
Paul, do you remember the Ben Taylor hit in the 99 game? They threw a little slot pass over the middle.
Mute.
Yeah. He had a few of those.
Yeah,
he
Ben-
had 2
Ben
against
Taylor-
Temple back-to-back against
left-
one guy.
Yep. Oh, that dude
So-
could hit.
Yep.
Last two, probably the most emotional two. West Virginia. Paul.
I could spend an entire episode on 1999 West Virginia. I will save that for another day. But I will say that is it, because it was the happiest sports-related moment of my life. We walk into the stadium. We're number 3 in the country. We're 7-0. We found out as we walk into the stadium, number 2 Penn State's just lost, so we have the door wide open to walk right through. And as rivalry games go, it was a taffy pull for most of the game. We thought we had the game won. We were up 19-7 with 5 minutes left. Things got weird. We end up going down by a point with 1 minute and 15 seconds left. But what's crazy is, of all the years that I've been watching Tech sports, that's the one time where it didn't feel, at least to me, like it was going to go the way that it always had gone before in the past. We've had so many of these games where we've lost when we should have won. But the minute that Corey Ivy scored that touchdown from West Virginia, I turned to my buddy Andy and I said, all we need is a field goal. I honestly believe we were going to win that game, even though we were just giving up 2 touchdowns in the last 4 minutes. And everybody's watched the highlights of that last drive 1,000 times. It was as good as it gets. We were in the corner of the end zone, so we didn't have a good angle on the line of the kick, so I couldn't tell when Graham kicked it whether or not it was going to go in or not. But we had all these Tech fans to our left. They start erupting. I look, and the referees put their arms up. I see the players running out on the field. We're jumping up and down. If I could bottle that, I would. That was the greatest moment, sports-wise, in my entire life.
Good luck following that, Coach. You almost got choked up, Paul.
Well,
I did. It was good.
yeah, that was awesome. I remember I watched that game in Squires Student Center. Like, that was unbelievable. But the next year, in 2000, the Andre Davis punt return with the Wayne Ward absolute D-cleater block. Somebody posted it the other day on social media, and it kind of reminded me of it. But that was the biggest jump out of your seat moment that I ever remember having in Lane Stadium. Like, it was like, oh, that was the biggest hit I've ever seen in Lane Stadium. Period. End of story. And it was something that would 100%. He would have been ejected from the game today.
They took it from us.
Yeah, it was gone. And then the fact that Andre Davis turned on the burners and then outran 2 guys after that, and that was a phenomenal game. That game wasn't even close. So, I mean, Vic in 2000, if he had not gotten hurt, he probably wins the Heisman. We probably win the national championship, and it's just a F Pitt for ripping his ankle in the pile, but and why isn't Pitt on this list, by the way? But just
good call out.
Yeah, but anyway, that game in 2000 was amazing. Pat,
I gotta keep it to recency because I think those games in the 2000s, for whatever reason, don't really jump out into my mind. Even though 06 was, I believe maybe it was 05 was the Vinnie Fuller touchdown off of the punt block. I think that actually was 04. But let's talk about 2017. Joe Rogers put this on the timeline and was putting all these highlights together. I guess going into this game, it was so hyped up because you have Fuente's year 2. He had a very successful first campaign. You have a very successful Will Grier coming in, offensive juggernaut for West Virginia, and FedEx Field, which is a great neutral site for these 2 teams. It's a rivalry renewed situation. I believe Tech had possession of the Black Diamond Trophy at this point, and they are marketing like crazy on Josh Jackson being the first true freshman or the first freshman to start at Tech since Michael Vick in 1999. So they're like doing freeze frame side by sides the entire night on like comparing the 2, which might have been a little bit of a far-fetched stretch there. Really good football game. Tech wins 31-24. Steve Levy was on the call. I'm pretty sure this game took place on a Sunday night at FedEx Field. It was, a bit of a reunion for all the folks who had just graduated with me and a few months prior, 2017, and a great way to kick off the season. You're like, oh my gosh, this guy is winning these games against some good competition in week 1. That is something that Justin Fuente was good at, was prepping the team in the offseason and getting them ready to go. But Cam Phillips was a stud this night. McLeese, you had, I think Trayvon Hill was a stud this night. Just a great football game on both sides, and great ending, too.
Yeah, I was going to go with this one as well. I had this called as the Josh Jackson has massive nads game. 1,061 yards of total offense by both teams. Cam Phillips, you just got mossed. He was unbelievable. West Virginia's offense, 592 yards and 29 first downs. It's crazy to think that we won that game. And also Josh Jackson, it was like he was running for office before politics got crazy. Like they were like, Josh Jackson knows Tom Brady. He gave him a call last night. Josh Jackson's dad is at the game. Here he is. He coaches at Michigan. Like it was like just, it was the best.
Did you know he was from Ann Arbor, Michigan?
I watched this game. I watched this game at Big Al's because it was the first year that I was medically redshirting, and I was kind of sad that the football career had ended, but the baseball guys, this was the first time that I went out with like Joe Friday. I can't remember if Packy Naughton was there, if he was playing baseball yet, but Joey Sullivan, Jack Owens, all of those guys, Connor Cowherd, we went to Big Al's and had a great time. And I do remember at the end of that game on third down, they come very, very close to scoring a touchdown on that play. David Sills, who is amazing as a wide receiver, and he actually transitioned from being a quarterback into being a wide receiver in college, and he was a great player. So good call out on 2017. And to round this out, Pat, I know you're excited. We're going to go with UVA. And Paul Patera, what is your UVA pull here?
My UVA pull is 1990 because it was they were number one that year and we beat them. It was the one time that I've ever carried the goalpost after a football game. It was the first
yourself.
Yeah, it was just me.
Strong
Nobody
man
else.
in 1990.
First time ESPN had aired a game in Blacksburg. Nick Cullen with a sliding touchdown catch on fourth down. You know, people don't realize UVA was 7-0 that year, and then they lost 4 of their last 5 after they were number one. They lost to Georgia Tech, who we lost to 6-3. They beat UNC. They lost to Maryland. They lost to us. They still had to go to the Sugar Bowl because the Sugar Bowl had already committed to them, and they lost there to Tennessee. So it's a shame. But we had a great night that night. My future wife was actually made it to the ESPN telecast during the game. It was a great night altogether, and I got a great picture of the goalposts in black and white being cockeyed with Maurice DeShaza, who was redshirting, straddling the goalpost as it's going down. It's a fantastic picture with the scoreboard in the background.
Coach, I hope
So
we get to
funny,
write down the goalposts again. We just haven't had any reason to do that. We've been in the stage of things where it's so sad. Like, Pat, you remember this at the Cal game? Like, we win the game, and almost your first thought is like, please don't rush the field. I know we beat Cal. Like, just hang tight. One of these days, it'll be warranted. And that wasn't the time. But go ahead, Coach. Sorry.
So that goalpost is in the basement of the Sigma Newhouse, right behind Hokie House, 401 Progress Street in Blacksburg. It's got the 38-13. It's got the score right there on it, but it wraps, or it's the foot rail of the bar in the basement of the Sigma Newhouse. So,
can you get us a picture of that? Can you hit up a brother or something to get a picture of that, please?
I'll send it to you. I did an article about it it's on the Sun's website. So y'all check that out. My game is the 2000 game. This was the first year that we wore the triple stripe throwbacks. It was Michael Vick's last year. We beat Virginia 42-21. It wasn't even really close. It was freezing cold. It was November 25th, and it was a night game. It was the only time I ever sat in the north end zone. And that it was just, I just remember that game just being in complete control. It was like, I think it was maybe Vic's first game back completely healthy before playing the bowl game. And just an absolute butt whipping. And there's been so many butt whippings of those guys. It's so many to pick through. We could beat them in tiddlywinks, and it'd be, I could pick that as my favorite. They're just, they suck so bad. I just stomp a mud hole in them and walk them dry every time. Every time we step out on the field, doesn't matter what it's in. Just they suck as humans. Thomas Jefferson was a plagiarist.
It's so funny because it's going to come out of the edit, but all I heard was you broken up being like, they suck as humans, stomp a mud hole in them, walk them dry. I hope it comes out clear, but even unclear, it sounded so funny. Pat, what do you got for UVA?
This is always a game that I've circled, that I've tried to go to and attend in person ever since my first time there I guess my first time in college. I'm going to go with 2018. I think it's so hard to talk about this series without 2018. And I know that's not emblematic of us dominating them, but it is emblematic of them fumbling it away and us proving the victor. You had so many good moments of that night. You had Ryan Willis chasing down a dude right before half to avoid a Virginia touchdown. You had the Trey Turner over, what was his name? Over the stud corner from UVA. One-handed grab.
Oh man, because I remember Stacey Searles used to say his name in like a smart alecky tone. What was this guy's name? Gosh, he had so much hype, and then I think he went like the sixth.
Bryce something? I don't know.
I can't remember.
Number 34.
Mm-hmm.
You had Dalton Keene go up and get it. Scared money don't make money. Ryan Willis was a freaking gamer, man. And
He's getting so much love today.
And then you have the Trey Turner and the Stephen Peoples punt block, and then you have the Emmanuel Belmar recovers the fumble in overtime. The cup is going nowhere, Mikey, and go to your room, little brother. And this was just like the most fun Big Al's night of all time. We had an absolute crew, and I have 200 photos of us drinking out of the cup at Big Al's. It was I think I turned 24 or 25 that evening after the game. Just an epic night. So fun. One of the all-timers, 2018 UVA overtime victory.
So I knew you were going to take that one, but I took some stats to bring here. So that was the 100th Commonwealth Cup game played between VT and UVA. It was the 15th win in a row by Virginia Tech. I was going to ask for trivia who recovered the fumble. Very well researched there with Emmanuel Belmar. Even crazier, Stephen Peoples had 19 carries, and when he fumbled the ball into the end zone, it was recovered by Hokie hero Eric Kuma. Recovered that fumble for a touchdown. And then Virginia Tech had to beat Marshall that next week in a fog, half-attended makeup game to go to a bowl game. I knew you were gonna go with that one, so I went with November 28th, 2014, Virginia Tech 24, UVA 20. I named this the Jack Lambert is dead game because when he got sacked at the end of that game, I legitimately thought he was dead. Daddy Nicholas and Kenny Canham absolutely sandwiched him and sent him into red wine at football games oblivion.
Grayson. His name was Grayson.
That's right.
Grayson Lambert. Grayson's anatomy was sandwiched.
Jack Lambert played linebacker for the Steelers. I mixed them up. And then I also had it as the Mike London time cop game. Is that the time cop game where they had it won and he used his timeouts weird?
2012 was the time cop game.
2012.
But I do think there might have been a time cop moment in 2014, and I do remember late in the game, I don't think maybe they played Sandman and they panned in on Mike London's face, and he just looked so helpless. It was so tough.
At the end of that game, it was Brewer to Hodges for 50 yards, and then Brewer to Hodges again for a touchdown with 1:48 left. One last piece of trivia.
C.J. Rivas, too.
Yes, that was my trivia. C.J. Rivas blocked that punt. Who recovered it for a touchdown to go up 10-0?
Oh, C.J. blocked it?
C.J. blocked it.
Did Bucky recover it?
Yes, Bucky Tamuchin was John Tamuchin on the spot at the end of that game.
Yeah, dude, he was all over.
Guys, this was a ton of fun. I can't pick a better four group here. This is 2 hours of Hokie lore and Hokie memories, and hoping that we can add some more to the list here. And Paul, I'm hoping that we get your best sports memory is still yet to come. It's the best sports memory that has happened so far. So if we missed it, I know we missed Pittsburgh. That's on us. Put down any games that are memorable for you. Do you want to just rapid fire pick one Pitt game? No stats. Just pick the one that you think of first. For me, it's 2019. It's the shutout. It's them
that was it for
doing.
me.
It's them digging their. I think it was Paris Ford or something like that. He dug like a hole in the O. By the way, that dude hits super hard. I do remember that. I ran into his parents at Sharky's after that game, and I think I was talking to Trey Turner, and I was like, "Man, that guy Paris Ford," and his mother literally was like, "What? That's my son. What?" And I was literally going to say that he hits really hard. Like, that's literally all I was going to say. Mrs. Ford. And then the other one that comes to mind is just Israel Abanikanda. Like, that was just such an albatross. Those are the two that stick out in my brain. Any other Pittsburgh submissions from you guys? 2016 was great.
The Bud Foster shutout.
That was a good one.
And Pass the Salt Pat, 2016. Brendan Motley coming in reserve for an injured.
Isaiah's catches in 2016 were unbelievable. You had a Divine Diablo, I think, got a helmet sticker that night. Wore the 25, recovered a fumble. That was epic. 2016. Besides Ohio State 2014, 2016 is the closest I've ever gotten to throwing hands with the opposition. These guys these Pitt fans were not hospitable.
I'll go real quickly with 1993. That was our first of the long bowl streak. We went up to Pittsburgh. Johnny Majors came in a DeLorean with the tagline of Back to the Future, and we beat them 63-21. We were up by probably 4 or 5 touchdowns, and Phil Elmasian was on the sideline giving our team a ration because he thought we didn't have the right edge for the game. We really just handed it to him. Tommy Edwards had like 5 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns. It was a complete unpantsing. It was fantastic, and we thought we were back, and we were.
I love a good unpantsing. We'll end it on the good unpantsing. Coach Holmes, Pat Finn, we're going to cut you loose. And Paul, if you could stick around, I want to talk a little bit about your ACC road trip and tell us a little bit about what you created. But Pat and Coach Holmes, thanks for joining us. 2 hours of Hokie lore. Chime in with any other submissions that you have. But Paul, talk to us about the ACC road trip.
Thanks, man. Well, as the last 2 hours has shown, we love our Tech games. I love road trips. I've seen over 200 Tech games in person, and some of the best weekends that I've had have been going to see the Hokies play in Blacksburg or across the country. So there have been quite a few trips where we didn't know where we were going, what we were doing, and the trip could have been a lot better, and I wanted to fix that. So ACC Road Trip is a set of guides for fans who travel to ACC towns, one per school, where to stay, where to eat, where to drink, what to do, facts about each place that a local might tell you. It's not a Google search. It's not asking your buddy where they stayed 4 years ago. Every playbook is written and fact-checked, and I'm constantly evolving and improving each of them. So it's a really cool exercise, and I think it's going to be a really cool tool for anybody that wants to get it.
So check out our link down here. I'll link all of the articles that we talked about, and I'm also going to link where to sign up for ACC Road Trip. And we'll do an extended conversation about this, Paul, but I do know that you have specific offers where folks can get deals at some of these different spots. I would almost say it's kind of like the version of when your kids playing T-ball and you buy that book of all of the deals in the different towns. I think that's what's going to come into, but one that you're excited to check out because you're going to be going to these spots and not looking for ways to spend money, but looking for ways to save money on trips you're already going to take.
I think of 2 different distinct groups of people. If you have not been to an ACC town ever before, or it's the first time in a long time, the information alone in the pass is worth it. Last time we played in SMU in Dallas was 1974. We've never been to Berkeley. I would imagine there's quite a few people that are going to be coming to Blacksburg for the first time in a long time this year. Don't be thinking you're going to Mike's Grill or Boudreaux's because they're not there. You're paying to get good information and not have to settle for a fast food chain. So that's one group of people. The other group, if you're coming to Blacksburg, I really, really want to support local Blacksburg and Montgomery County businesses. So if you're a regular in Blacksburg or even not, we've got already 6 local discounts built into the pass right now. Cabo Fish Taco, Courtyard by Marriott, Blacksburg, Coffeeholics, Main Street Inn, Lefty's Main Street Grill, and Sweetopia. These guys are great partners. I can't wait to see them when I get to town. Nearly all of these deals are usable more than once, and we're working on more. So if you come to Blacksburg even once this year, these discounts more than pay for the pass. Come to town 2 or more times, it's not even close. So definitely take a look at it. Follow us on social media at Instagram, ACC_road trip. Go to accroadtrip.net and check us out. We'd love to help you out on your next trip.
Paul, looking forward to it, man. We'll do an extended deep dive on it, and again, strongly encourage y'all to check it out. That is a podcast, 2 hours. Paul, appreciate your time as always, man, and we'll do it again soon.
Thanks.